Hello everyone, welcome to the IELTS Time writing series. Today we'll be talking about IELTS Writing Task 1 Academic. This video is divided into three main parts. In the first part, we'll be having a look at some general rules about IELTS Writing Task 1. Then in the second part of the video, we'll become familiar with different categories of visuals. And finally, at the end, we'll be looking at the general structures or constructions of IELTS Writing Task 1. Now, let's take a look at the first part of the video. Some general rules about IELTS Writing Task 1. These are the things that you must do. First of all, write a report. IELTS Writing Task 1 is called a report. Remember, a report. We don't call it an essay. I've seen many students who refer to it as an essay. It's not an essay, it's a report. You need to write at least 150 words. If you write less than 150 words, you will be penalized. But if you write more, that's okay. I could say it's recommended to write around 200 words for writing task 1. You must write in paragraphs, especially if you want to get a high score, say more than 7. You need to spend 20 minutes on this. And here in this task, you have 20 minutes, but it's not a must. It's recommended to spend 20 minutes on it because you might know that IELTS Writing Task 1 and Task 2 are given to you at the same time. You have about 1 hour. It's recommended to spend 20 minutes on the first one, 40 minutes on the second one, overall 1 hour. Some students are better at essays, so they might actually prefer to do task 1 at first because maybe it's more challenging for them, especially those people who have difficulty categorizing the information. You need to include factual information here. Only report what you see. Most of the students unfortunately include their personal opinions and ideas in IELTS Writing Task 1. You mustn't do that. You must use academic English, that's written English. Remember, there is a difference between spoken English and written English. Some words are only used in spoken, some words are only used in written. In IELTS Writing Task 1, you must use the written English, not the spoken. Make sure that you avoid contractions. We never write doesn't, won't, didn't, etc. Instead, we say does not, will not, did not. Here are some things that you mustn't do. First of all, you mustn't include your personal opinion. We have already talked about this. It's very important. Please pay attention to that. Don't use the adverbs, adjectives, verbs whatsoever that suggest your personal opinion. You mustn't use informal English. You mustn't use spoken English. We have already talked about this one as well. And finally, you mustn't use slangs, expressions, or idioms, especially in IELTS Writing Task 1. Don't do it. It's not recommended It's not recommended even to use slangs, expressions, or idioms in IELTS Writing Task 2. That's not a good idea. Don't do it. There are some expressions, some maybe quotations that you can use in IELTS Writing Task 2, but generally speaking, it's not a good idea. Avoid them. Now, in the second part of the video, we need to become familiar with different kinds of visuals. They can be simply put into 7 distinct categories. The first one, line graphs, bar charts, pie charts, tables, mixed. We call it a mixed visual only because sometimes you have a line graph and a table at the same time, or a bar chart and a pie chart at the same time, or a bar chart and a table. That's why we call it mixed visual. Diagrams, they usually include a life cycle or maybe a process or a flowchart. And finally, map. The map usually shows one location in 2 different times and you need to report the changes made to that location. Sometimes you're talking about the past and the past, sometimes the past and the present, sometimes the present and the future. So it depends on the task. Now the first one, line graphs. This is the task that you will see at the time of your own exam. And remember, you will be given only one of them. So your own writing task 1 in your own real IELTS exam could be any of them. That's why you have to become familiar with all of them and learn how to write a report on them. This one has different parts. Part 1, this is the time limit. you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. And here we have you should spend. So that's recommended, not you must spend. Maybe you spend 30 minutes on this. The second part is the instruction, also known as rubric. It includes the explanation of the visual plus the requirements. The requirement: summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Summarize the information. Okay, this part is very important. You must summarize the information. You mustn't include whatever you see. I mean, all the information, all the data. That's not possible. So how do we summarize the information? By selecting first, reporting the main features. So first, select the main features. You need to understand what features here on this graph are important, or the main ones, and then report them. You make comparisons where relevant. Unfortunately, I've seen many students who try to make comparisons all the time because they've been told that IELTS Writing Task 1 is all about comparing and contrasting. Yes, that's right. You must compare, but where relevant. You must contrast ideas, but where relevant, not all the time. If you do so, your writing will be mechanical. So if you don't summarize the information, if you include everything here on the graph or on the chart and make comparisons all the time and just list them, your writing will be mechanical, and that's actually that will be penalized in IELTS Writing Task 1. So don't do it. Avoid doing so. This part is word limit. It tells you that you need to write at least 150 words. If you write less than 150 words, you will be penalized, but if you write more than 150 words, that's okay. And then comes the last part, which is the graph, the line graph. As you can see, it has the title, average carbon dioxide, CO2 emissions per person between the years 1967 and 2007. We have the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. We have the y-axis and the x-axis, and we have 4 lines. In the line graph, sometimes you have 1, sometimes 2, and sometimes more than 2 lines. So it's usually around 4 to 6, usually. Line graphs usually show trends, meaning that you have to report the changes over a period of time. We have 1967 to 2007, so you need to report the changes that you see during the period. This one is a bar chart. As you can see, we have the 4 parts: time limit, rubric, word limit, and then the bar chart. This bar chart also shows a trend because you need to report changes over a period of time. We have 1918 until 2011. This one is another bar chart. The previous one was a vertical bar chart showing a trend. This is a horizontal bar chart showing only a comparison. So the main purpose of this bar chart is comparison, not trend. It's not a trend because you don't have a time period. You only have 1 year, and that's 2014. So that's not a trend, just 1 year. You need to compare and contrast the countries: China, United States, Russia, Japan, and so on. This one is a pie chart. You have the 4 parts, and there are 2 pie charts here that you have to compare. We have 2000 and 2010, so 2 years. Again, this one is a comparison, not a trend, because we have 2 years only. When you have more than 3 years, that's the trend. This one is a table. As you can see, you have the 4 parts: time limit, rubric, word limit, and the table. I could say that selecting the main features and reporting them in table is quite challenging because there is usually a lot of information you have to report. You can't include everything here. This one is mixed, and we call it mixed because you have a line graph and a table. So whenever you have a combination of 1, 2, 3, 4, if you remember the categories, it's a mixed. This is a diagram. We have the 4 parts, and as you can see, we have life cycle of the silkworm and then production of silk cloth. Life cycle plus the production stages. This is another diagram. You have cement production and concrete production. And this is a map. As you can see here, we have Islip Town Center now and Islip Town Center planned development. So we have the present and the future. You need to report the changes that are planned to be made to this town. We'll be talking about the structure of paragraphs more in detail in the following videos. But before that, let's just have a quick look at the overall structure of the paragraphs. If you want to get a high score in IELTS Writing Task 1, it's recommended to write 4 paragraphs. So structure 1 would be paragraph 1 for your introduction, paragraph 2 for your overview, paragraph 3, body 1, paragraph 4, body 2. And remember, writing an overview is very important. We'll talk about this more in detail in the future, but make sure that you always write an overview and make sure that your overview is to the point. The second structure would be something like this. So you include your introduction at the beginning, and then body 1 and body 2, and finally overview. Some students prefer to put the overview at the end. That's possible. You can do that. They usually say that we can't think of an overview at the very beginning because it's confusing for us. So it's absolutely okay. You can first write the bodies, and then based on the bodies, write your overview at the end. We also have another structure, and that's the last one, structure 3. So you can attach your overview to the introduction. So you write introduction and overview at the same time in paragraph 1, and then you go for body 1 in paragraph 2 and body 2 in paragraph 3. We can't say that one is better than another. It's all up to you. As long as you're writing in paragraphs, everything is fine. Alright, that's the end of the video. To support IELTS Time, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share the videos with those students or those IELTS lovers who need them. You can follow IELTS Time on Instagram, that's IELTS IDZ. You can also follow my own personal page on Instagram, that's iman_tizade. You can follow our general English channel on Telegram. You can follow our IELTS channel on Telegram. There are 2 different channels. You can also follow me on Facebook. Alright, I hope you have found the video useful. See you soon with better videos, more detailed writings. Take care, have fun, bye for now.